Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and I made a promise that I would do one last video of Crash Team Rumble, depending on the circumstances, on whenever it would get anything else on its anniversary or not. And well, as you can see, that wasn't the case. It didn't happen. Nothing came up on its anniversary. I think it is true that the game has run its course. There will be nothing added. Maybe they'll add new cosmetic items, but they will never truly add anything new from this moment onwards, which is rather sad because this game had a lot of stuff in its future. Lots of stuff. And I don't know where to begin with it. All I could just say is that I just remember that, like, at the earliest when it was teased as Wampa League, I was intrigued. I wanted this to be a reality because playing, regular Crash Bandicoot multiplayer games, I played the original Crash Team Racing, I played Nitro Fueled, I played Bash, I played Nitro Kart. Like, I played most of the side Crash games, multiplayer related stuff, but this was a game that I felt had a lot of concept and potential. Like, I don't know if there's any other kind of game like this where you go about platforming and having to score, but it's not like a third person shooter kind of game where you have to just kill to win. You have to score to win, but you got to at least be a bit strategic about it though. And it was just really cool to see how, they can take everything from the Crash universe, everything that has been in the games for a long, long time, and make it into what it is here. And much like with Nitro Field, Nitro Field had a lot of characters to play as, and we could have gotten that too had this game turned out better. Like, well, it's not even so much as if this game turns out better. Like, to me, this game is wonderful. It has a great idea. It honestly, I don't even know how to put it any more under that of the potential that it had. I just feel that it was uh, it's it's always a thing where always whenever games like this are about to, like, I don't know, about to hit like where it gets really good or interesting, that's when it's finally dying because oh, people on the internet are just haters. You hate. I can't believe the many times I've seen people saying how they don't like this game because it's not, it's not the way of Crash, or I've hearing people complain like, "Oh, hey, put it on PC and we'll talk." And it's like, sure, it could probably be very well. Maybe in another timeline, yeah, it was on PC. Maybe in another timeline, it would have been on the Nintendo Switch. Hell, it was meant to be on Switch because of how you can find data for a a Switch, like, I mean, the name is mentioned really, but there's data for it in the game, but it just, like a lot of other cool things, it just doesn't go used. And it's very possible that, yeah, this could have been, they could have ported this on PC. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't, to be honest, because I don't know. As far as I know, with the exception, I think, of the Insane trilogy, no Crash game has really been ported on PC. And I kind of want it to stay like that for a bit, to be honest. Sure, you people get to have it, have accessibility, and get to go crazy and nuts with mods and stuff like that, but still, it doesn't really fix everyone's problems if it comes out on a specific platform or not. So, anyway, I guess I can talk about some of the stuff that was meant to be in this game. As of now, even though it's now been several months since they've done the final update and it's now on its anniversary, none of the people who worked on the game, the former developers who are no longer at Toys for Bob. None of them said anything about this game in terms of just in terms of what was meant to be in and such, save for maybe Nicholas Cole. But uh, Nick, I wish he could share more stuff. Like, I'm sure he has more stuff in his portfolio of characters or such, but he just, under legal reasons, can't show them just yet, if ever. So, for all we know, we may never see what other characters would have looked like in the art style of this game. But going into things we were supposed to get, and who knows, maybe some of the cosmetic items and whatever we might get later down the line, but I fully doubt it at the rate this is going. So, characters. As I've mentioned long ago, when season 3 was in the early stages, already data miners found stuff that pertained to some potential stuff for what would have been season 4. The announcer has voice lines in regards for 3 characters who most likely would have been the highlights of season 4: Nina, Pinstripe, and Tiny. We don't know how they would have played or how they would have worked out, but from what we know at the very least, Nicholas Cole did do concept on Nina and Pinstripe. For Tiny, he didn't do Tiny. He mentioned that someone else did Tiny, but I tried to get a hold of them to see if maybe they can share, but as of I don't think he's going to be sharing it anytime soon. Probably never. But we'll start with Nina and what this is all speculation. We don't know for sure if this is how the characters were supposed to play or anything like that, but it's basically a mix of speculation and good guessing, if I were to say so. Nina was no doubtably meant to have been a scorer because the data for her code suggests that she would have been able to at least move at a decent speed. There's also the fact that her main gimmick seemed to be that she seemed to have functioned like Tawna somewhat, except the difference being is that Tawna was focused on grappling and traversal. Nina, not so much really, but she does have a grappling ability, which in the code is described as yank or yoink. And it's possible that Nina would be able to grab opponents or objects, and this could have been helpful. And I'd like to think that she could have been able to grapple like Tawna because of her yank ability. But unlike Tawna, who pulls herself to the enemies, Nina would pull the enemies to her instead. So it could have acted as like an opposite basically on that sort of thing. Her code also mentions her melee, which would have been according to it, a 1-2 punch that ends with a shoulder tackle. And she also has a move called anti-air, which I'm assuming is, again, it's meant to be essentially a yank related thing with her grappling arms, and that she would have been able to grab someone in midair and then slam them into the ground for damage. And then, anything else? No, just other than this image here. It's really nice, and again, it just makes me wish it could have happened. Next, we have Pinstripe. Pinstripe's data is a little hard to understand on how he could have functioned, but my best bet on how he would have worked, and based on everything else really, is that Pinstripe would have most likely been a booster, if only because a lot of people that have weapons in some way tend to have ended up as boosters. But I mean, Cortex with his ray gun, uh, Ripto with his scepter, and then you have Injin. Well, Injin. I don't know if you can count his throwing stars as weapons or not, but still, it seems most boosters carried guns or whatever. Anyway, Pinstripe would have been able to use his Tommy gun as his way of shooting. Not exactly sure how it would have worked out if there would have been like an ammunition count or anything like that. But it mentions that he had a traversal mode, which makes me wonder if he had some kind of unique way of getting around or not. Another thing mentioned in his code was having mines, meaning bombs. Probably similar to Ripper. He probably would have been able to leave out mines, bombs to use as a means of defense, but I think how it could have worked is Pinstripe would have had probably a kick combo that would have ended with with a swipe of the butt of his Tommy gun, or alternatively, it was simply pistol rifle whipping with his Tommy gun. And that he'd be able to shoot and reload. But the shooting mechanic, I believe, would have been something along the lines of that if you hold still and shoot with it, you'll have better chances of hitting your targets. But if you run, it's a spray kind of thing, and your chances of hitting people are less likely to happen. It would have been interesting to see how he would have turned out, and he looks really well in the art style. Like Nicholas really did capture the essence of how he was in the original art style of Charles Zamblis. Next, we would have had the one and only, certainly not least,
Here comes Tiny!
Tiny Tiger. Tiny was probably meant to be a straightforward blocker. I mean, with a guy like him, what more could he do? There's also the fact that there's really nothing saying else on what he could have had. Tiny would have either had a weapon, a spear, triton, or just simply meleeed with his claws and fist. And he basically had a 1-2 combo and charge punch attacks. It's possible that the way his melee would have worked is that you could do a 1-2 punch, or since there's a charge punch involved, you could 1-2 and then hit with a hard charge punch, or charge punch and 1-2, or if all your punches are chargeable, you could just charge all your punches to smack with. Not that I would recommend that kind of thing. He also had something called explosive jump, which I'm assuming was meant to essentially be think of Ripper's bounce ability, but the difference being is that unlike Ripper's where it gets you higher and does damage if you hit people with it, Tiny's it'll damage, but it'll also inflict the squish like how Crash and Coco's body slams moves would have been. And then finally, Tiny had one something called Thunder. Not sure what Thunder could have stood for. It could have been either like a roar or a thunder clap sort of thing. I can see a roar like acting as like a I can see a roar attack of some kind that can act as a way to inflict knockback and such and do some damage. Other than that, yeah, there's just really nothing on Tiny. Not to mention that Nicholas did not do a design on him, and he mentions the person who did, but as of now, we don't have any sort of art on how Tiny would have appeared in the game. Not to mention that. Whoa, hold on. I had to clear my nose there and everything. As I was trying to say, we really don't know how Tiny would have looked because we just don't have a clear, good enough image of him. The only time he even makes any sort of small appearance in It's About Time is a picture in the Cortex Castle. But even then, that art of him, I mean, it's concept art, no, sure, but it's just kind of weird and off looking that I can only hope that they can eventually reveal like what he's supposed to look like proper. That's pretty much all we would have gotten in character, at least characters that we know we would have gotten. Other characters that I know we would have gotten based on things and other evidence. We knew that we were gonna get Papu. Papu was teased many times and appeared in a lot of the old concept art of the game. And not to mention, not just so much as the concept art, but it would have suit well with him as well. Even a part of Papu was in the game's data. They found his staff, and it was no doubtably meant to have served as like an accessory item for customization where you can get different styled staffs for him to have. But what he would have done, he would have most likely been a blocker, but any of his abilities or whatever, we don't know. It's just pure speculation. Many other characters I'm sure we would have gotten in some way. I have a feeling Oxide was meant to be playable because he does have a model of sorts in the base game of It's About Time. He's got two models actually. His cutscene model, and he did have an in-game model that goes unused. It's although this in-game model of his though was probably meant to be if you seeing him in person, but it never happens. You never do see him in person in the levels, save for the cutscene and everything. But it is quite possible that he was meant to be in the game as a playable. Exactly how he would have worked beyond me. I feel he would have at least I feel the way he would have worked is that he'd wield a gun similar to Cortex, but he would lack the ability to transform opponents into animals. I'm not sure what else he would have been able to do, but actually, no. What am I saying? I was talking to my friend about this. I feel like how Oxide would have worked is that how basically his gun would have been like Cortex, but instead of animals, it would have shrunk people, and therefore it could have been a little helpful in that regard. Again, though, pure speculation on how this would have worked out. It's quite possible, like, I am only basing this on the fact that some of the characters made cameos in It's About Time and made further cameos in the epilogue. Therefore, if they cameoed in the epilogue, it would only make sense if they did get added as a playable character or as something else, really. One of the interesting things is that there was meant to have been a guest character that wasn't Spyro. Of all the things, Ghost of Call of Duty was meant to have been a playable character. They have their concept art here, and this is real. This isn't fan art or anything. This is quite real. The idea would have been is that Ghost would have well, he would have probably been a scorer based on his proportions, but he very well could have been a booster. Who knows? Um, based on the concept art of him here, he at least had one move that involved using a remote control car. It's based on those little drones that you can use to bomb and detonate in Black Ops. Very standard thing. He also seemed to have had one that involved using grenades too. We don't know exactly how he would have played out, but we just simply know by this piece of concept that he was just simply meant to be in the game in some way or form as a guest. This also means that there were potential other guest characters that were considered for the game. I have a feeling we were probably meant to get a Skylanders character. It would have only been fitting considering that, it's Toys for Bob, and it's actually weird that it's been several years and they have not released a new Skylanders since. I think they're pretty much done with Skylanders, which, I mean, I see that as a good thing, but it is a little sad considering that I'm sure there's a lot of the younger folk and kids that got to play Skylanders and think that, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing we've ever played. And it was all during the craze of the collectibles and, little toys, amiibos, stuff like that. It was a big craze thing. I myself never tried playing Skylanders because it didn't feel like Spyro to me at that point. I never hated it. I just never saw it as a Spyro game. Going off track on that though. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were probably gonna get a Skylanders character. As for which one, I don't know. My best bet probably would have been one of the main default ones that tend to be popular. So I want to say it was Eruptor because Eruptor has his own balloon float in the game, and it would have only made sense if he got to, be part of this. I think I'm pretty much out of characters I want to say. So now I'm going to have to switch gears and mention stages. The only known stages that are in the game's code still was we were supposed to get another prehistoric map, and how fitting and funny that we are currently doing, Tar Valley as I talk about this. We don't know a thing about this map. All we know is that it would have taken place on a cliffside, and there would have been numerous dinosaur nests for the flyers. So it's possible they would have at least been an epic relic station or part of the relic station somehow. But we really don't know, other than outside of the images we have. As for any other potential maps we would have gotten, confirmed or not, I'm positive we would have gotten a pirate theme mapped because it would have made sense. It was only one of the worlds, levels from that world that did not get a map, and it would have worked out nicely because they were adding pirate theme accessories and cosmetics for you to wear. Not sure how it would have played out, and there is concept art of a pirate theme map. It was meant to be like on a wharf of some type. We probably would have also gotten a snow level because again, other than the pirate world from It's About Time, the the snow world levels Oh, did not get adapted into a map. But I'm sure there would have been a way to do that though. It's also possible we would have gotten maps based on some of the other areas. Like, we would have probably gotten one map on Oxide Ship, gotten another one on planet Bermucula, and possibly get another map on, I actually don't know. It's all mystery and speculation, but it's there. Ah, man, I'm getting sleepy and tired, and I'm only halfway through doing this. Let's see. Anything else I need to share about Rumble regarding creation and concept and all that? I don't really think so. I think I've pretty much reached my end with this in terms of like what I can share that was meant to be in the game. I went over maps, I went over characters. This game just it could have had a better future. Had Activision not purchased Microsoft so soon, or actually it's the other way around, but had Microsoft not purchased Activision so soon, we probably would have gotten more, but really this is all on the fact that Toys for Bob left to become independent, and this was pretty much their last game that they did while still together under like Activision's banner. So it is a little, I don't want to say it's a little sad, but still it is a little sad that what their final game is, and it's just it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, I guess you could say, since we don't get any new, we're not going to get any more content, and it's just, it makes me sad. I was looking forward to getting Tiny and Nina and seeing whoever else comes. Like, I tried to say this every time there's games like this for me, when I feel like it's reaching its peak with DLC and seasons, it's like, oh no, we're gonna cut it short because other examples I can give like that, Nitro Fueled one of them because I feel because there were still characters in that game's data where it's like you can't let it go unresolved because we had more racers planned out for that game. We had Ripto was meant to be in it. The Sorceress was going to be in it. Willy Wampa Cheeks would have been in it. Like Nitro Field has the same thing with that. Just watching myself play. I wish I could have kept the audio, but I need to get rid of it so I can, talk and all of that. All I can say is that whatever Toys for Bob are going to be doing now, like, we don't know for sure what they're doing. Like, word is that it's supposed to be Spyro 4, but we really, truly don't know. Evidence does suggest that it is. And I sure hope that with Spyro 4, I sure hope that it'll be good enough to get a multiplayer mode, and who knows what that would turn out. I'd be down to play a Spyro version of this game, or at least some kind of equivalent to it, because it still amazes me that Spyro worked surprisingly well in this game. I was worried that he wasn't going to translate well into this, but no, he fitted more perfectly than I can ever imagine. So yeah, we're done with Rumble. We're not gonna come back to it. Multiverses, as I stated many times, is pretty much the replacement. I'm doing rather well in multiverses. I've due to so many recent updates and such, I almost got the almost have the battle pass filled. I'll make a video on that to show me filling the final part of it, just like I would do in Rumble. There's a lot of things to look forward to in that game too, but this is Rumble, not multiverses. I really liked this game, is all I can say. I liked how it turned out. I liked the concept. I pretty much like I had a lot of fun with it. Yes, I had my frustrations with people, using rather cheaper tactics with certain characters that did drive me nuts and made me go on to say how I hate this and everything, but it's common. Common when games do that to someone my age. I just hope that one day, we might get a sequel to this and it'll turn out better, that we'll get to see who we're supposed to see, or who knows? Maybe when we get the fifth, once we get Crash 5, we'll be able to see Tiny and Nina and Pinstripe as we were meant to see them. And likewise, we'll be able to see Spyro and we'll see how he'll turn out in the future. All in all, it was a good game. I don't care what people say. This was a good game. The only other things I can say as I tire myself out here, because I am so tired. I really want this to come to an end so I can then, like, rest or something. Because I'm just so tired and exhausted. Look at me go. Wish I kept some of the audio for this. I might be able to find a way to. I don't know. I think I can find a way to still insert some of it. Um. Oh, how silly of me with characters. We were gonna get male Entropy as well because his data and model is in the game, and I'm sure he has animations to go with it. How he would have turned out, nobody knows. We don't know if he would have been a scorer or sorry, a blocker like female Entropy, or if he would have had some unique play style to differentiate that it would have not mattered. We had a lot of other fun stuff added into this game. We had party mode, and party mode offered some fun to it, and we would have gotten rank mode. We would have gotten a zombie mode called horde mode, which I'm pretty sure horde mode was meant to be a zombie survival kind of game where you would have been attacked by a horde of enemies and just you had to hold them off for a set amount of time per round, and would have been nice to have that. It would have been nice to have a lot of things. Ugh. I think I've pretty much reached my end here. So I'll yeah, I'll just let you guys watch the rest of this. I wanted to at least go through all the maps and all the characters just to show, what we've gotten and what we went through and all that sort of good stuff on this journey. Rumble was nice to have to help me because it actually helped me quite a bit on my channel. Like when I started doing it, because of how the game was, I was getting quite the viewership for it. But then after the game got its final update and once I started doing other stuff, my viewership ain't what it was. And even with multiverses, not a lot of people are interested in multiverses, at least at the moment, but wait until we get certain characters and you'll all be singing a different tune. I almost fell asleep there. Yeah, I've reached the end of what I said. So you'll just be hearing the rest of the stuff here. So I'll see you guys in the next thing, and goodbye, Rumble. Thank you for being such a good form of entertainment and helping my channel. I hope you come back in some shape or form as a sequel. I sure hope there'll be some good things for Toys for Bob this moment onwards. So, see you guys in the next one.
Enemy team boosted. Allied shrink ray. Your team boost expired. Allied love bomber. Enemy team boost expired. Allied love bomber. Your team boosted. Drop off to win. Victory! Three, two, your team puts Wumpa on the board. Allied team super boosted. Allied team mega boosted. Blue speed down available. Minecraft spitter ready. Clean up on aisle 3. Your team boost expired. Minecraft spitter ready. That should be illegal. Your team boosted. expired. Your team boosted. Your team extends a big lead. Flytrap spitter ready. Enemy team boost expired. More savage than a rabid raccoon. A moment of silence. Your team boost expired. Victory! Three, two, one, rumble! A moment of silence. Your team boosted. Allied team mega boosted. Your team puts Wampa on the board. Allied team turbo boosted. Ice Wizards available. Flytrap spitter ready. What a smackdown! Your team extends a big lead. Your team boost expired. Elora blows the competition away. And lights off for them. Gulp available. Your team boosted. Allied team super boosted. Drop off to win. Flytrap spitter ready. Victory! Three, two, one, rumble! Your team boosted. Your team puts Wampa on the board. Egg Thief returns. Allied team super boosted. expired. Egg Thief returns. Your team boosted. Enchanted Tower available.